Hi gang, Starving Videographer here. I'm Mahesh and this is Reza. And today we are at this beautiful Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle, bringing you two amazing lenses. The Sony 100-400 f4.5 to 5.6 G Master optically image stabilized lens. And we're going to compare how this functions with
the Sigma 100-400 DG/DN OS Contemporary f5 to 6.3.
Quite a mouthful. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to show you a bunch of images with A and B, and we're not going to tell you which ones was taken with the Sony and which one was taken with the Sigma. At the end, we'll let you know which ones were which. That way you can decide how close you were to deciding which lens took with image and see if the trade-offs of one lens is worth it for the trade-offs for something else. So without further ado, let's take a look at the images.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed looking at those sample blind test images between the Sigma and the Sony G Master. And now we want to go over some pros and cons between the two so you can make a decision about what is the right fit for you, starting with the Sony 100-400 GM.
Yeah, you know, I've had this lens for a while now, and there's a reason it always has room in my bag. I love the build quality. I love the range 100-400. It matches very, very well with the A9. By the way, that's what we're shooting both lenses with, is the A9, so there's no discrepancy in parameters when we show you the images. But I love the fact that it has a button right here on the lens, and it has several buttons around it having the same function. So no matter whether you're holding it in the portrait orientation or the landscape orientation, that button is always reachable, ergonomically speaking. And that button can be assigned to whatever you want. I typically have it set to eye autofocus so I can quickly go from landscapes to portraits and not miss a beat. I love the fact that the lens hood is beautifully made. It actually has a little sliding notch right here. So if you have a polarizer on your lens, it's easily adjustable without having to take the lens hood off. It seems like a little thing, but you know, when you do a lot of landscape photography with long lenses, that is a real boon to have. I like the fact that this lens comes with this beautiful tripod collar that can be adjusted in portrait, landscape, whatever orientation you want. This little attachment that goes to your tripod is easily removable. All you have to do is loosen it a little bit, press a little button here, and voila, it comes right off. And here you could thread in other types of attachments. You could have Arca Swiss type mount. You can have 420s. Yeah, exactly. And then when you need it, you just slide it right back in and you're set for business. Love that. This has a mechanism here on the lens barrel that allows you to control the tension of the zoom ring. Here it's a little bit tight, but you could twist this ring right here and it becomes buttery smooth. And you can adjust it at various levels depending on what your needs and wants are. One last thing I want to talk about are all the little buttons here. You've got several modes for image stabilization. Mode 1 for stabilization in every plane. Mode 2 mainly if you're panning. It's got optical steady state on or off. Sometimes you may want to turn that off when you're on a tripod. You can limit how much focus is being hunted for. You can do full focus or from 3 millimeters to infinity. And of course you can adjust the autofocus directly on the lens over here. Very similar to what Sigma offers. I like the fact that this is a native E-mount lens. So when you do upgrade the firmware and the lens of the camera. There's no compatibility issues. You don't have to wait for a third-party manufacturer to catch up with Sony has released, if they ever release it for them. So it's sort of there's proofing as far as future goes. Okay, and yeah, those are the main highlights. I like this mechanism of zooming in and out by just turning the focus ring or the zoom ring, and I think Reza will talk a little bit about how you do the zooming with the Sigma. But overall, it's a great lens. It's a little heavier than the Sigma, right? And it's quite a bit more expensive than the Sigma. So you have to decide whether all the features I talked about are worth it for you from a price performance standpoint.
Beautiful point, Em. Now looking at the Sigma 100-400, it features a dovetailed Arca Swiss tripod collar that you can purchase separately. It comes in roughly about half or less than half of the price of the GM at $950, but the collar is an extra $130. So if you wanted this configuration, you're looking at right around $1150-ish. So probably less than half of the GM.
Yeah, it's still quite a bit of money you save.
Yep, you save a lot of money. It has some really great features. It offers one of the focus hold buttons that are customizable as well, unlike the 3 that the GM has, but at least you have the 1. You also do have your focus limitations here, 6 meters to infinity, full, and 0 to 6 meters. And then also you have 2 OS stabilization modes in your every plane and then your panning plane. It features the lock here that you can lock the lens at 100, so when you're traveling.
That's key stuff. Yeah, that's really nice. I like the fact that it has that lock.
No movement, right? So
yeah.
It keeps it from damage or getting things into the lens. And another cool convenient feature, harking back to the days of Canon lenses, is this hand pull zoom that you can quickly zoom in and out, which is convenient. And we hope that the seal is good enough here that they don't run into some of the problems the old Canon lenses had, which was sucking in dust as you pump this back and forth.
Right.
So a little bit different than the GM in that it offers that versus the tightening of the focus ring, or sorry,
right.
the zoom ring.
Right.
But all in all, what you're giving up to go from GM to Sigma here is the difference in the build. We have a mixture of engineered plastics with a metal mount that probably isn't going to lend itself to as much abuse as you could put on the GM. So that's one thing to keep in mind, but what you do gain there is the weight and easy
right.
carry around, which is, for me, it's been very comfortable on the A9. AF has been spot on. We just looked at a few images and they've been pretty comparable in IQ.
Right.
But so you're really considering size, weight, price as your decision-making factors there.
Right. As today we're walking around the Woodland Park Zoo, I was like huffing and puffing because I had this monster of gear on my shoulder, while Rosa was like da 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 dee dee click click click. No problem at all. So if I had to take one of these lenses for backpacking, long journeys, or long hikes, I would feel much more comfortable going with the Sigma than with the Sony. But if weight wasn't an issue, then I would probably choose the Sony. It all depends again on what your needs are, what your wants are, what you want to achieve from your photography, and which lens will help you get that at the price and performance point that you're looking for.
Absolutely, and keep in mind that with the GM you also get access to a 1.4 and 2x teleconverter, right?
Good point, yes. So I have the 1.4 and 2x teleconverters, but it's nice to put it, but I rarely use it on this lens because remember, every time you put a teleconverter, you are losing light. With the 1.4x, you're losing a stop of light, and with the 2x, you're losing 2 stops of light, So something at 400 millimeters, this is at 5.6 already. At what the 1.4, it's going to go to f8. So you're going to have to shoot that at f8. So you need really, really good light. The good news is the performance only degrades minimally when you have the converters on, but still, it's another piece of gear you have to take out with you. So in theory, it is advantageous, and even though I have them, I rarely find myself using this particular lens.
The other thing to keep in mind is that one of our favorite things to do is take these lenses and put them on APS-C bodies.
Right.
We get the advantages of the additional reach without such a huge penalty in the light loss, right, Em?
Right, yeah, that's the great point, Sathi. We can put it on an APS-C body, or we could even just put the APS-C mode on our full frame cameras and have a similar type of reach that way. So again, you know, Sony makes it very versatile, and now it's nice to have choices from third party. Image quality wise, they're neck and neck, you know, and then you can decide that for yourself. But when we've looked at the images side by side,
it's hard to
it
tell.
was hard to tell which image was taken by what lens. So I think you probably should not make a decision on the lens based solely on image quality. If you are, then I think the Sigma is really good option for you, because it's right there as far as sharpness, micro contrast, chromatic aberration, you know, beautifully lensed. When I look at these two lenses, my decision is based more on other aspects that we just talked about: build quality, compatibility for the future, you know, little things like the lens hood and the ability to control the polarizer directly from the lens hood without actually taking it off, multiple buttons for autofocus or what have you. So if these things aren't that important to you, then I think you should go with the Sigma.
And that is promising, because this is the first time that we've had a long lens option outside of the native mount, correct?
Right.
I mean, Tamron has some too now, but in the 100 to 400, it's nice to start seeing new third-party options.
Right. So the winner is really the consumer. You have choices, and whenever you have that, you can make a more informed decision based on your particular needs. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked what you've seen, please like our video, and please remember to subscribe to our channel for more interesting and hopefully helpful content such as this. We'll see you next time.